Okay, we're now, just so you know, also being live streamed. So if any of you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, I'm new to the live streaming, so I'm not quite even sure where it is. Just know that if you actually want to ask me questions, you would need to be in the Zoom room, because I won't be able to look on Facebook or YouTube. But you're very welcome to enjoy the energies. And for the people that are just joining us, I'll mention again, even when I'll be focused on one person, the energy is always working with everybody all the time, and unless you don't want it to be. So take a couple easy deep breaths, and I'll say again, imagine a giant gold ball of energy, and that's our energetic NLP energy spa space, our energetic NLP energy spa Coach-A-Thon space. And while we're doing this together, we're all inside this space. And people have known for thousands and thousands of years the power of declarations. And when I say declarations, it's not, it's not that kind of thing. The more powerful declarations are said just like it's a fact. Like, the sun's going to come up tomorrow. I don't need to go, the sun will come up tomorrow. It's like, the sun will come up tomorrow. So let's declare that this energy space is a space of miracles. It's a space of effortlessness. It's a space where it's easy to let go of unconscious and energetic programming. And it's a space where it's easy for your spirit and your inner wisdom to replace that old programming with wisdom, knowledge, concepts, skills and abilities and attitudes from your spirit and from your inner wisdom. So let's just pretend that's qualities of the space that we're in. This is a space where you feel loved, acknowledged. This is a space that validates your right to exist, your right to be on the planet. My personal opinion is, if you're breathing, you're supposed to be here. Even the people I really, really dislike are supposed to be here, or they wouldn't be here. That, who knows if this is true? My personal belief is that, and as it is for many of you, that we're all part of some vast unfolding of human consciousness and actually of the universe. And so everybody here is part of it. Everybody has some kind of a role to play. So this is a space where we feel that validation that we have a right to exist. We have a right to attempt to fulfill our heart's desires. And so does everybody else. Easy, deep breaths. Imagine there's a giant energy magnet floating out in space. And let's imagine it has the power to pull out of our group energy space any energies that aren't yours, I shouldn't say aren't ours, and aren't helpful. So there's a lot of energies in the space right now. Some of them belong to us and some of them don't. The energies that don't belong to us, some of them are helpful, some of them aren't. So just imagine energies that aren't ours and aren't helpful are just going off to that magnet in space. And then that magnet can send them back to wherever they should be or transmute them into pure energy. And then let's ask our spirits to fill the space with energies that will be helpful for all of us, for what we're doing in this session together. And we're going to work with a whole symphony of energies. And any particular energy, you don't need to work with all of them. Your spirit, your inner wisdom will choose the energies that are right for you at this point in time, and will choose what to do with them. And I'll explain that in just a minute. So just imagine the entire space is filling with wonderful earth and universal energies that will nurture us, guide us, heal us, help us manifest our authentic heart's desires. Okay. Now, a couple more concepts before we go on. One is that we probably should do the energetic NLP pledge. So we have a pledge in energetic NLP. And if you're new to all this, I'd like you to do it with me right now. And if you don't like it at the end, you can cancel it. Some of you are giggling because you know what it is. But I urge you to do it with me. And at the end, if you don't like it, cancel it. So if you raise your right hand, that makes it more official. And I like to lower my voice because that sounds more important to me. I solemnly swear I will not believe anything art says. I will explore and discover my own inner wisdom and spiritual information. Okay, now I can relax. And while I'm joking about that, I'm also serious. And what I mean by that is the ideas that I'm going to express are the ideas that are I don't even believe what I'm telling you. Let me be honest. I'm telling you what I think at this point in time. At this point in my personal spiritual development, this is what I think. And when I tell you these ideas, all I want you to do is to play with them and explore them. I don't want you to believe them or not believe them. I just want you to play with them. Because the goal will always be that you open up more to your own information from your spirit and your inner wisdom. And personally, there's a lot of people doing a lot of wonderful work out there, but the thing that makes me crazy is I'll be in so many programs and people are telling me the truth. This is the truth of spirituality. And to me, that's well-intended spiritual arrogance. It's like, I want people to tell me what they think, but not to tell, it's sort of like everybody's coming down from Mount Sinai with the tablets and this is the word of God. And so at least, and you may like it that way, but in this room, we're not doing that. We're just playing around with ideas and beliefs. So I will share ideas and I just want you to explore them and not believe them, not believe them, just play with them. Okay, a couple more concepts, then we'll really get going. One is a unique concept to energetic NLP. It's called your miraculous self. Your miraculous self. Now, your miraculous self is different than your high self. Your high self, and by the way, there's 108 of us in the room right now, and there's probably at least 100 different versions of what a high self is in the room, and that's fine. Your miraculous self is something different. What I realized years ago in working with people is that people have a deep inner human wisdom. I don't know exactly what that is, but all of you are aware it exists. You may question it, but in you there is some source of wisdom. And all of you also have a spirit. At least that's the belief I'd like you to step into while we're working, or the idea I'd like you to step into. And the way people use the word, when people talk about individual spirit, they mean different things. What I mean is the higher frequencies of your non-physical self. That's what I'm calling your spirit. And when I read people's spirits, they're like the perfect parent. They're going, whatever you want, dear, within limits. You want to have you want to feel loved and needed and appreciated. That's a valid spiritual path. You want to feel lonely and separate. That's another valid spiritual path. You want to be abundant. That's valid. You want to struggle. That's valid. And when I say want to, I mean that our spirits are giving us permission to create different life paths. And to our spirit, they all have value. Now, as a human being, we would much rather have the love, abundance, health, and everything on the list. And I'm not talking about being in resistance to having problems in your life, or that you can bulletproof your life and never have any challenges, because that's there may be a few people on the planet that's their path, but for most of us, having challenges at times, that's part of the path. And But there's a lot of challenges we face that we don't have to face, and they're being caused by unconscious programming and energetic programming, ancestral, past life, familial, from different, from childhood, from different kinds of experiences. We're dealing with karma, we're dealing with spiritual contracts. So there's a lot of suffering and challenges that go in our life that don't need to be there. The Dalai Lama calls it, there's natural suffering and unnatural suffering. And unnatural suffering is the suffering that didn't actually have to be there. But again, our spirit gives us great latitude to run our lives. Your deep inner human wisdom is wisdom, but it's also very in touch with your life, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. So when your spirit with that vast awareness and your deep inner human wisdom with its very practical awareness, when they're working together, then you have the guidance from your spirit, but you also have the practicality of your inner wisdom that, when possible, is going to go for the more enjoyable life paths. Again, not that there's never challenges or problems, but even when there are, you feel the support of your miraculous self. So, like almost anything, your miraculous self is something that the more you work with it, the stronger it gets, the more it develops. But the beginning part of having one is super easy. Couldn't be easier, really. In the beginning part of it's really powerful. So for those of you who've worked with me before, set your intention that your miraculous self is going to increase its ability to guide you, nurture you, support you, and help heal you. For those of you that are new to this, set your intention that your miraculous self is being formed right now and will start guiding you, nurturing you, healing you, and helping you manifest. So remember, I mentioned intention, permission, putting your miraculous self in charge, and imagination. So right now, if you want to set your intention that your spirit, your deep inner human wisdom are forming your miraculous self, just set that intention. And you don't have to remember all the words I say. You can just go yes to what Art said, because your spirit and inner wisdom hear me, and your unconscious mind can hear me. Then give 100% permission for that to happen right now, because you need intention and permission. And then just imagine, pretend that your miraculous self is forming or being enhanced. Take an easy, deep breath. And then just imagine it already exists, because it does. Imagine it already exists. And I encourage you right now to give 100% permission for your miraculous self to be in charge of how you benefit from this session. So a lot of you can feel it. The energy is already starting to get strong. It's going to get a lot stronger. So I urge you to set your intention that your miraculous self is in charge. Your miraculous self will decide what unconscious or energetic programming it wants you to heal, dissolve, release. What old limiting beliefs, whether they're conscious or unconscious, it wants you to dissolve and release. And give your miraculous self 100% permission to be in charge of that. And give your miraculous self 100% permission that as it releases the old programming and old limiting beliefs, it immediately replaces them with wisdom, knowledge, concepts, skills, abilities, and attitudes from your miraculous self. So if you want that, I hope you do, give 100% permission for that to happen. And for that to really work for you, I urge you to let go of trying to consciously control that. Let it all happen outside of your conscious awareness. What's coming in from your spirit and from your inner wisdom, you don't need to second guess it. You don't need to censor it. You don't need to analyze it. Just let it come in. A lot of it will come in and be unconscious at first. And then it will get integrated in, and you'll just start naturally acting out of it. That's the most powerful way to do it. You can try to control it and analyze it if you want, but you'll get like 1% of what you could get if you do it that way. But that's up to you. And probably 3 is plenty. In your mind, choose 3 intentions you have for this session. So what are 3 things that you'd like to really have improved in your life? I'm not guaranteeing they will be, but pick 3 things that you want to be improved in your life right now. And by the way, you don't have to be super specific. It's fine if you are, but a lot of times people get stuck because they go, well, I know I want a new career, but I don't know what. Your intention could be just that you have this new career and you love it. You don't have to know what it is if you're not sure. If you don't know where you want to live, that your intention is that you're living someplace that you're really happy living there. And then take the 3 intentions and put them out in front of you like little drops. Like little drops of energy representing each of those intentions. Some of you are putting out lots of them, which is okay, but 3 to 5 is probably plenty. But and then imagine those little drops of energy float to the top of that gold ball or energetic NLP, energy spa, Coach-A-Thon space. And the reason we want them up there is we want the energy to be supporting the manifestation of those intentions or something better. It's always good to add or better. But we don't want them in the way. So they're up there being worked on. And if there's anybody that you'd like to be receiving a healing in the background, you can put just a tiny drop of their energy out in front of you. And just on a being level, tell them that if they want a healing, that they can be getting a healing in the background. We're not forcing anything on anybody. Let them know that their spirit, their inner wisdom will be in charge of the healing if they want it. And let those drops of energy go up to the top of the energy space, the gold ball. And then I'd like you all to set the intention right now that it is our intention that everybody participating in this get a wonderful enhancement in their lives as a result of what they do in this session. And some of you can feel that when we all set the intention that all of us get a wonderful enhancement in our lives. And to make it even better, set your intention and give permission that all of our miraculous selves right now, while we're together doing this work, all of our miraculous selves are forming like a council of miraculous selves. So they're all coming together to help all of us. They're bringing the power of all of our spirits together to help all of us. Your miraculous self will stay in charge of what happens for you, but all the miraculous selves will be working together for all of us. And then we all have different spiritual, religious beliefs. Go ahead and ask that help come in for you from wherever you think help comes from, according to your own spiritual, religious beliefs, which might be that there isn't any help, if that's or it might be, God, deities, angels, guides, whatever you believe. And I use the word spirit in 2 ways. One, to talk about your individual spirit. And then when I talk about spirit in general, I mean, whatever you think that greater spiritual reality is. One of the things that I'm proud of in energetic NLP is creating a safe space for people to have all kinds of different beliefs. Again, I'm not looking for you to have to believe what I believe, or you need to believe what anybody else in this group believes. We're making space for all of us. So in a moment, I'm going to start calling on people. And remember, even when I'm working on an individual person, I'll be working with everybody. When I call on you, I don't want a whole big story. Just really briefly. If I need more information, I'll ask. Remember, this is not talk therapy, and this isn't. I am an empathetic person, but this isn't, a time to tell a story of woe or something. It just briefly what's going on. If you were Juliet, you'd go, gosh, I'm in love with this guy Romeo, and our families hate each other. I don't know what to do. That's enough. I don't need to know, where you live in Italy. I don't need to know all of that. If I need to know more, I'll ask. The more you get into the story, the less you'll get out of it, because our stories trap us. So if I interrupt you, that'll be why, and I'm asking for your permission in advance. I'll do it anyways, but I'll ask for your permission in advance, particularly if I feel like you're getting in a loop. I will be calling on people that are in the M Club and other programs that I do. I will be calling first on people probably that are new, or I'll mix it up so that I want to make sure new people get an experience. So there'll be some kind of mixture, but the order you raised your hand isn't going to be the order I'm going to call on people. I'm going to be guided by my M, and that's how it will be going. It's not like picking a number at a supermarket or something. Okay, so bring out your playful inner child. And I apologize in advance for all the names I'm going to mispronounce. Let me start with, is it Maylise? Is that how you pronounce it?
Maylise.
Maylise, okay, yeah. Hi.
Hi.
What's on your mind? And you can either talk about the problem, an opportunity, or briefly both.
It was hard for me to raise my hand, and I put myself in all kinds of situations. I got divorced 2 months ago, so I think things are getting better.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to keep my house and working too much and complicated.
Yeah,
I have no idea if I'm an empath or not. I just don't know.
Yes, I mean, you are an empath. And just for everybody, an empath doesn't mean you need to be like in the movies, where everything. Empath just means there's a whole, like everything else, there's a whole scale of being an empath. And it being open to other people's energies, being affected by them, makes you an empath. Now, there's other people that are, phenomenally, they don't have any boundaries. They don't know who they are. I mean, they're one extreme of the empaths, but the other end is it just that you're noticing and affected by other people's energies, and then everything in between. And yes, you're definitely empathic. And by the way, everybody has the abilities to read and work with energies. It's not some special skill. Literally anybody who wants to can learn how to do it. And you have a lot of, it would be very easy for you if you ever want to develop those kind of abilities. But so all kinds of energies lit up about what you talked about with the divorce and house and everything going on. And again, I don't need to have more content. I forgot to say this for everybody. If things will just dissolve energetically and go, then I don't typically talk about what they were, or I don't even particularly care what they were. If you're done with them, you're done with them. If they'll just dissolve and go, it means your miraculous self is saying, we're done with that. In analyzing it, usually makes it worse. You can actually bring it back and stuff. If I start getting specific, it's because my guidance is telling me that that there's something you need to decide or think about or do. And so all kinds of stuff is lit up already. I will tell you that there's a ton of karma, past life stuff. So let me start with that. And so just give your permission. Remember, the permission is keeping your miraculous self in charge. And we call miraculous selves a lot in energetic NLP. We just call them your M. Normally, pre-COVID, I do a lot of work in England, and we just started calling your miraculous self your M, which is kind of a James Bond pun. And so when we work with people, we call it M&Ms, because my miraculous self is talking to your miraculous self, and your miraculous self is telling my miraculous self what it wants. So we call it M&Ms. I'll probably get sued someday by the Mars Candy Company. Okay, there we go. You're giving a lot of permission. And for everybody else, you all have karma. We can just bring in a lot of energy to start releasing karma. And the idea of releasing karma, not to you, Melis, but for everybody, often lights up a lot of resistance and programming that it's not okay to let go of karma. So I always just like to say, you're not going to let go of all of your karma. You'll still have karma when we're done today. So you don't have to worry about getting rid of all of your karma today. And the only karma that your miraculous self will let me release with you is the karma it wants to release. It means you're done with it. Okay. But for all of you that are having changes or challenges in your life, just let the energy come in and be working with you. So the big things that are popping up are karma and forgiving yourself. There's a power in blaming ourselves for our life events to a point. But so it's great that you take responsibility and you look at what you did or didn't do. But then the next step is to forget. So it's like we want to recognize our part in what happens in our lives, learn from it, and then forgive ourselves. Yeah, I can see you nodding. So just relax and just, and you don't have to get completely forgive yourself today. Just start going, yeah, there's some things I could have done better, and I'm a human being. I messed up some things and other things I did well. There you go. And of course, at some point, there'll be more forgiveness of other people involved, but you don't have to jump into that. You start with forgiving yourself. Once we forgive ourselves, it can be a lot easier to forgive other people. So anybody else in the group, if you want help with forgiving yourself, and most of us need help with that, let the energy come in and help you with that. And I know a lot of what I'm going to say, I know you know, but we all need to be reminded, forgiving ourselves is not the same as excusing ourselves. That forgiving ourselves is noticing, learning, deciding how we want to be different in the future. Sometimes there's things we need to do to make it up. Make it up to other people. One of the things I've worked with a lot is like Fortune 100 companies on developing extraordinary leaders and teams. And I would work at different times. I'd work subcontract through other small consulting firms. And I was working with a man named Gerald, who at his best was incredible at working with groups and leaders. I mean, he was very talented. I knew him from NLP, and a good guy. And sometimes, like everybody else, sometimes he'd really kind of blow something with the group. And at the end of the day, which we all do, he'd want my feedback on things. And when I would point out to him certain things, he'd always go, oh, well, but to him that meant, got it, I'm never going to do that again. And he wouldn't, but he'd kind of go, okay, yeah, I don't want to do that again. Done. There we go. It's funny. I don't know if you can feel it. Your inner wisdom's really smiling. Can you feel that?
No.
Okay. And the things with your house, there's a lot of ancestral programming about home ownerships that isn't helpful. And all of us have ancestral programming. And for everybody, when ancestral programming comes up, what I like to do is I imagine I can talk to my ancestors. And I go, thank you. I know you're trying to help me with your programming. And then I go, let me show you my world. And I show them the world I live in and technology and just what my life is like. And then I go, thank you for the programming, but it doesn't work in my world. And they always kind of go, oh, okay. I mean, sometimes they're a little stubborn, but so there you go. You're letting go of a whole chunk of stuff. In a moment, I'm going to, a couple of minutes, I'm going to call on somebody else, and I'll keep working with your energy. How are you feeling right now, though?
Feeling good.
Yeah,
feeling good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not a fortune teller, but it looks like a lot of good things are starting to open up for you. And
Good.
a lot of it, releasing the karma, forgiving yourself, and just going, okay. It's like when I asked people who was new to my work, and some of the people who worked with me a lot, well, new today and stuff, and that kind of attitude, it's like, okay, day one of this phase of my life, and really embracing that. And it just looks like there's a lot of beautiful energies being set up for you.
Thank you. I have a question.
Yes.
Is it okay to use the pendulum when we have questions or not? Because
sure.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, pendulums are great. I like to use them sometimes. The answers can be coming from different aspects of you. So when you do that, you can have intentions like it's coming from your unconscious mind, it's coming from your spirit. So just play around with it and see if you get the same or different answers when you ask, when you direct who exactly you're asking the question to,
Okay.
or guides, or however you use a pendulum. But pendulums are great.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate.
You're very welcome. And let's see, next, Leslie.
Hi, Art.
Hey, Leslie.
Hey. Yeah, I'm aware that some of the stuff you've been talking about this week, like almost wanting to obsessively jump in and help, has been something I've had a lot of my life. And it's funny, just before you mentioned it on one of the calls this week, I kind of had a, oh shit, that's what I'm doing moment. I feel like I've shifted quite a lot, particularly yesterday's session. But it's kind of what else, where else, what's there? The three things I wrote down that I wanted were health, relaxation, and being open to receive good stuff.
Okay, we'll do that. And let me just explain to the people who don't know what Leslie's referring to. I just ended a 5-day program. It was like an hour-ish a day on for empaths, on empaths going from surviving to thriving to being a playful empath, to really enjoying those skills. So that's what Leslie's referring to. Actually, the videos are still available. For everybody who's in the program, because people were having trouble getting emails and stuff, I've extended all the videos a couple of days, and they're all on that same page. But if any of you want, I can put in the link later for the empath program if you want to sign up for that. If you sign up for it right now, the way that it's set up, you'll get a bunch of old emails before you get the new ones. And on Monday, I need to talk to my tech support team and find out what I set up wrong. But oh, and there's a question here. Let me thank you. This is a good excuse. I'm responding to a question from my first little commercialette, and then I'll come back to you, Leslie. I'm already working with you, Leslie, but I'll come back to talking directly to you. So I just put in a link, and any of you that are watching Facebook or YouTube, I'll put those links in later. I'm doing a 3-day virtual program, July 16th, 17th, and 18th. So it's a Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And if you can't make the Monday one, you could still do the Saturday, Sunday. It's called Discover Your Miraculous Abilities. It's 3 days of clearing limiting beliefs, unconscious programming, karma, spiritual contracts, unconscious programming, past life energies. There's a ton of clearing, but there's also then a ton of opening up people's abilities to work with energy. And by the end of the 3 days, you're able to do transformative, very powerful transformative energy work with yourself and with other people. You're able to do it at a distance. And we have a lot of fun, but all of my programs are about personal and spiritual transformation. So it's 3 days of personal spiritual transformation that's intended to make your practical life also better. A lot of spiritual development work is not necessarily connected to making your practical life better. So we do both. I'm going to talk about it more later, but there's the link and you can check it out. And I should mention, it's very, very expensive. You might need to get a loan. It's right now, the super early bird prices, it's $47, or you can upgrade it and get a few more things for $97. That price will be going up sometime this week, just so you know. Kathleen said, commercial support, Daima, awesome program, highly recommended. As Nike says, just do it. Yeah, I would have to say, if you like this kind of work at all, he says, with all due modesty, it's an awesome program. So highly recommend it. Okay, Leslie, let me, the 3 things again were, could you say them again? Just those last 3 things.
Improved health, relaxation, and being open to really receive abundance. Great.
And I'm sure there's lots of people who want those 3 things. So remember, the energy is working with everybody the whole time. There's a massive energy. It's behind in your heart chakra in your back, but it infiltrates your heart chakra too. Infiltrates is probably not, I don't mean that like it's evil or bad, but it has like roots that go into it. I'd say it's about 40% past life. It's about, and I know the numbers don't add up quite right, but this energy doesn't go all that linear. It's about 70% ancestral stuff. And it's a lot of unworthiness and not deserving and the nobility of suffering. Not so much the nobility of suffering, but it's almost like that's our lot and it's part of our purification. Oh, Maria, be sure to mute. Thank you. And by the way, if I tell anybody to mute, it's easy to get unmuted. And the system's supposed to automatically mute you. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, so I'm working on that, Leslie. Some spiritual contracts that need revision. And of course, I'm not revising them. You're with permission. Give permission for your miraculous self to revise them. Give 100%. There you go. That's better. Let me just do something real quick. I'm going to mute everybody again. And so when you're ready to talk again, Leslie, I'll have you unmute, but I'm just going to mute everybody right now. And just the unworthiness and stuff about suffering and punishment. Almost everybody has programming around that. So give permission, all of you, if you want to get some healing done on that. I always like to tell people punishment is so ingrained in our society that people don't even think of Santa Claus as the punisher, which is part of his role. And at least in the US, if you're good, you get a gift. But if you're bad, you get a lump of coal. So it isn't just that you don't even get a gift. It's like you get the humiliation and the punishment of a lump of coal. And we all say, oh, Santa Claus is so jolly and happy. So, I mean, punishment is just ingrained. And I think part of this new age is part of what's going on in the world is people starting to heal a lot of the punishment energy and the suffering energy, the unnecessary suffering energy. There we go. And one of the things that will help you for your health, it's like I can't find in your space an image that you have of you having much better health. So spend some time, and you don't need to believe it. Just, again, go, what would I look like if I was super healthy? If people were going, geez, Leslie, what have you been doing? You glow, you're so healthy. You have more energy than the 20-year-olds. Yeah, you're starting now. And as you have that image, just talk to your unconscious mind and let it know you're not saying it has to reach that image. You want it to be working on moving towards that image. If it gets all the way there, great. If it gets 3/4 of the way there, that'd be pretty darn good too. There you go. Yeah. Because there's just a part of your unconscious. It's kind of going like, oh, I didn't know that's what we were trying to do. There we go. It's funny because somebody had put something up on the internet, and only Americans of a certain age would know who this was. But one of the first fitness instructors on TV that I'm aware of was a man named Jack LaLanne. And in most of his audience, it was during the day, were women, and he was an extremely fit guy. And he was trying to make fitness fun. And, and this was back in the 60s, so it was really early on this. But he used to celebrate his birthday every year. The Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco is the entrance of the San Francisco Bay. And the currents are really strong. I mean, the reason they made Alcatraz Island out in the bay a prison, one of the reasons was because even if you escaped the island, you were likely to drown unless you were a really good swimmer. And even in his 60s and maybe older, he would celebrate his birthday they tie his feet together and tie him to a rowboat, and he'd swim across the entrance of the Golden Gate Bridge, the Golden Gate, the bay, San Francisco Bay, towing a rowboat with just his arms, and he did that well into his 60s, if not later. And even there was something on him being in his 90s. I'm not doing that, but still, being amazingly healthy for his age. So I actually want to go back. I just saw this last night. I want to watch it again and tell my unconscious mind, like, yeah, okay, you can be really healthy even in your 90s. How are you feeling? You're loosening up a lot of energy. You'd have to unmute, yeah.
Yes, no, I recognize that. Yeah, I'm feeling a bit lighter, Art. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely dead on not really having an image of me being, I don't really think about me very much.
Yeah. And I can get that, and just realize this is this isn't an ego thing. It's a very practical thing. It's and also when you see people that you can relate to, particularly women, but it could be men too, that are older than you and stuff who look really healthy, just kind of go, see, okay. I don't know that it's a real Hawaiian thing, but this, oh God, I'm blanking on the Surge King, I think his name was, who taught his Huna, which isn't exactly really Hawaiian. It's kind of Hawaiian, but he called it the Aloha principle. And he goes, when you see something in the world that you want to achieve, you bless it. Like if you're heavy and you want to be thin, if you see a thin person, you bless them. If you see somebody who's rich, you bless them. You know, and you're reprogramming your mind. There you go. Yeah, there's a whole reorganization going on in your unconscious. It's going to be really good. And this is really helping. There's quite a few people who are relating to this. Which is part of the reason I'm taking more time with Leslie, is so many other people are being worked on at the same time. And in terms of abundance, yeah, though, feel free to correct me, but the way I'd word what I'm seeing is that, and I have a lot of this too, on some levels, you don't really care about abundance except when you get practical. And I see it in your head. And so put some effort into actually appreciating abundance. Like take out some money and, and wave it around and say happy things or kiss it, or, I don't know what it would be, but you've cleared, there's still some, you've cleared some of the negative programming about money, but you're not appropriately appreciating it either. Mm-hmm. And that, and again, I can super relate to this. It's sort of like, I care about money when I need it, but somebody was trying to talk me into in my business consulting years ago, into doing a project with him. And he kept talking about how much money we're going to make. And he was smart enough finally, goes, oh, and I go, what? And he goes, that's not your primary motivation, is it? And I went, no, I'd be better off probably if it was, but no. By the way, I'm not saying that makes me spiritual, and sometimes it makes me immature, but so I had to actually work on more appreciation for abundance. So thank you for bringing this up. How are you feeling now? And the energy will keep working with you, but I'm going to focus on another person. How are you feeling?
Yeah, feeling lighter and absolutely spot on. I always pull in enough to do whatever I want, but I'm a bit tired of living in the margins.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because and write this down or type it up or something. Redefine what enough means. So that those of us that aren't in our 20s, enough means money for our retirement. Enough doesn't mean today. And just, really deliberately every day kind of look at it and just reprogram yourself like, this is what enough means now. I'm fine with it younger in my life. I wasn't very interested in money and finance and stuff, but I'm a hell of a lot older now, and I've developed more interest in that kind of thing because enough has changed. There you go. And again, I can see your unconscious is already working with it. Well, those are great. And keep me informed over the next few weeks how that's going for you. Okay.
Well, thanks. Thanks, Art. Brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the energy will keep working with you, of course. Okay, let's see who's lighting up next. Sherry with a G for a last name, if you want to unmute. There you go. Hi, Sherry.
Hi.
I'm not saying your last names because people may not want them on the recording. Yes.
Hi. Wow. I knew you were going to call on me. I felt it. And wow, there's a lot going on. I almost don't want to say anything, but one big question is about my marriage. It's a big question for me right now.
Okay.
And everything is based on an ancient, I believe, karmic unworthiness and not allowing. So I'm going to let you take it from there.
That's great. That's perfect. I mean, not great that you're in the situation, but great the way you described it. Yeah, let's work on that. There's a lot of karma that you're willing to let go of. And for everybody, when you let go of karma, the other person may or may not let go of the karma in their space, and that's their business. But when you let go of karma with somebody, it makes it easier for them on an inner level to do it. So it's a gift to them, whether or not they decide to do that. And when I say things to any of you, feel free to correct me if what I'm saying feels off to you. One of the things that will help, Sherry, is clarifying what you want out of marriage in general, and really looking at that and looking at both what you want, what you are receiving at the moment, and really looking at, out of all of that, what are the most important things. And then I'm saying what you should or shouldn't do about the marriage, but there is some of what's going on is what happens to almost everybody is we take for granted certain positive things, and so they don't count as much, and we notice more what's lacking. And so it's just whatever you end up doing about your marriage, it's really worth getting clear what you want out of a marriage, what's really important, what are you actually getting. What I'm getting is, what do you want to be giving in a marriage, and what are you able to give? Saying that with a little, I'm being told to say that, but we always have to be careful, because often what we want to give in a relationship is not necessarily what the other person wants or in the way we want to give it. But it's still important that for you to recognize what you're wanting to give, and are you able to give it? Is it received? Which might mean just that there's another way to give it. Okay, let me clear a lot more stuff out of your space. And like I said, there are a lot of ancestral thingies and thingies. It looks to me, Sherry, like you're a person, and I'm definitely this way. I need a certain amount of alone time, which is independent of how good the relationship is. Does that resonate with you?
Completely, totally, absolutely.
Yeah, because what I'm getting is, whatever you do about the marriage, you need to work it out that you need more alone time, and that's about you. It's not about. I mean, I was lucky. I was in a relationship where we both needed that, so we both got it really well. Okay. And realizing that you're entitled to that. Not like, I'm entitled, but it's like, yes, I'm entitled to ask for and have alone time. Because there's a lot of deep thinking that you want to do, it's conscious. A lot of it's conscious, but a lot of it's beyond your consciousness. And having that alone time really allows you to process. And you're setting up to make quite a big leap in your personal and spiritual development. And that doesn't mean, again, in terms of your marriage, what does or doesn't need to happen there, but you need the space for that. Did you used to have a lot more fun in the marriage?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm getting, you guys are letting it be fun, and that's, yeah, it's really important that you both, and of course you don't want to make it pressured, but like one of my mentors in the executive coaching I would do, he would work with very high level executives, and and of course often they were really busy and not really taking care of the relationship. And he'd make them take out their calendar and have date nights. And a lot of his clients were men. And every month they had to have at least one date night. And sometimes he'd be in charge of the date, and sometimes she'd be in charge of the date. And they'd alternate. But that was part of the assignment. You have to have at least one date night a month. And one time you're doing the date, next time she's doing the date. So yeah, it's, you guys just aren't, you could be having a considerably more fun than you're having. And that's not unusual in relationships, but yeah, it's got to be there. Am I right? I mean, it feels like it's essential. You need to be having more fun.
I have a question though, and
Yeah.
my question is about the energetics of the two of us. If you could possibly tune in that way, because my sense is my nervous system reacts very strongly to his, and I feel like I'm often retreating.
Yeah, well, you're really different, which has positives and negatives. And what I'm getting is, you don't have to be reacting to his energy in the way that you are. You can, if you can make it to the Daima program, be really good, because you could really clear a lot of what gets triggered in you. And then when you clear what gets triggered in you, then you can just decide, how you feel about being around his energy. But you've gotten hypersensitive to aspects of his energy, which again can happen a lot in relationships. But it doesn't have to be affecting you the way it's affecting you.
Oh, okay.
And a part of that too is write down the rules that you have about being a good wife, partner, however you think of it, and challenge some of your own rules. So this isn't specifically about you, but sometimes I've worked with couples where one is real bubbly and the other one's a little cynical or something. And so that can even be a good match if they both appreciate it in the other person and don't go too far, But I think you think you're supposed to respond to him in certain ways, and that puts pressure on you, and that makes you sensitive to some of his energies. And if you took the pressure off you, then you could react differently. Is that making sense the way I explained it?
I am not sure, but I do have my mind. Well, what I do is I have my perception of him. And so I am constantly reacting to what I think about him. So there is a constant kind of reactiveness.
And that, even in the corporate relationships work we do with people, I'd always tell team, the biggest thing we need to do is start changing what we're making up about each other, because what people do doesn't bother us as much as the meanings we put on it,
Yeah.
which often are not accurate. But also, I think, well, if you wouldn't mind sharing like just a couple things that pop up for you as a good partner, how are you supposed to respond to in a marriage to somebody else? I'm trying to say it vaguely, but I'm being too vague.
I'm trying to think. Mostly we've not been traditional, although I have to say I did fall into the kind of wife role, you know, like doing the cooking, take care of the cleaning, but mostly I sort of became a mother. So a lot of picking up after, and things that I got to totally resent. And it was only when he crossed what I said was a boundary that I started suddenly seeing him as being semi-narcissistic, how he didn't respect, you know, and then it was like one after another, and I was done. So I actually moved out for a couple of weeks, but now I'm back and we're in a dance. Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Which is, it's really hard stuff. And part of it, and we all do this, we train people that will do certain things and we start resenting them for expecting it. And, so part of it's, again, the learning for you is, about setting boundaries and informing people. And again, that's what happens to everybody, but that's all important. But what I'm talking about is more, so like in a lot of relationships, I'll just give some generic stuff. If one person's unhappy, the other person thinks they have to help them, for instance, rather than being able to go, well, sometimes I just have to let them have whatever experience they're having. There's rules that are more on that kind of level about, is that making more sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
And that's the kind of thing. And just start looking at some of those and go, so I know for me, I would get very responsible that, they have to be happy and and they're having these problems, and finally realize like, well, sometimes that's just not my responsibility to get involved. And then I'm not all worried about it. And, the other person can have the experience they're having.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just a very different personality than you. And he's okay with more of his limitations than you think he is. And I'm not saying that well, but it's like say, sometimes I worked with couples where one's kind of more up and into personal growth and the other one's kind of more resigned and stuff, but they're okay with how they are resigned. We wouldn't be, but they are. Again, I don't think I'm explaining this well, but energetically, you're getting it. So let me just work with you energetically. And anybody else who wants energy to help with relationships. And particularly on letting go of a lot of the meanings we generate around things that aren't shared meanings. I remember one time I was hearing some women talk on the radio, and at first I thought they were just really being kind of anti-male. And one woman is going, well, the problem with corporations, and men are used to somebody, first their mother, then their wife, coming up and cleaning up after them. So that's where they run the world. They make messes and they think somebody's just going to clean it up. And at first I was kind of resenting it, and I went, well, a lot of truth to that. Not for all men, of course, but so I mean, there are certain bad habits that we tend to have on that level. And just ask, and let this bypass your conscious mind. Ask for your miraculous self to give you a download on your marriage, and just let that percolate for a day or two, and then see how you're thinking and feeling. So if that's okay, let me help you with that now.
Yes.
So the downloads, everybody, are wisdom, knowledge, concepts, skills, abilities, and attitudes that will help us. Hey, you're really good at this. So I'm in a moment going to call on another person. In a few days, send me a message. I'd be really curious how how things are going in a few days, because you did a great download, and I'm curious how that will play out.
Thank you so much.
Uh,
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you.
And you really are good. When I say good at a download, you just let it come in. I'm thinking like, wow, that was really good.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, everybody take an easy deep breath. We'll bring in energy just for a couple minutes. We're just going to bring in energy for everybody, whatever your miraculous self wants you to work on. And I'm going to check out a few of the chats while you're doing that. There's a lot of good things in the chat, but I'll mention one of them. Sherry and Richard put in, we do a blessing and clearing on all the money that passes through our hands and accounts. Feels really awesome while doing it. I'm going to do that too. In fact, you can even bless your bills. If it's, unless you think you were cheated or something. But I remember the first time a client back in the 80s, they gave me a check and they'd written thank you above their signature. And I went, well, that is cool. It's like, okay, take a couple easy deep breaths. Okay. There's an expression people use in energy work. Somebody lights up. It just means something about their energy activates. And is it Dr. Tanja? If I'm saying it right?
Yes, that's me. Yeah. Pleased to be on. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. So my question is, I am 56 and I still haven't figured out the love field, I would say. So I can go into detail, but I'm kind of a little bit insecure. And
I'm sorry, you can go into what?
Into the love field. I haven't figured that out. I'm a widow, and in my youth, I was rather playful, but now I'm kind of very insecure of maybe getting into a partnership. And I have the impression I have something on board that is, yeah.
Yep, gotcha. Okay, so the it's not the word you use, but the resistance to getting in a relationship, the concerns about it. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And take a deep breath and first realize that of course is a reasonable concern. It doesn't mean you need to follow it, but it's a reasonable concern. There's a lot of family programming. I'm not sure if it's so much your parents or ancestral, but of problems with relationships or people dying or.
My father, he died very young when I was 4. And I held onto the theory that I don't know nothing about man because he wasn't there for a certain amount of time. But no, there has to be something deeper, because I'm a coach myself, but that field, I can't clear it up myself. So I'm so happy to be here.
Well,
I will go on with you. I love your stuff. It's so good.
oh, thank you. Well, I'm happy you're here too. And yeah, let me just, and just remind your unconscious mind that there are a few billion men on the planet, so you don't have to learn about men from your father anymore. There was a, did you ever see these dumb, they were fun though, American movies called American Pie? They were like teenage sex movies. I mean, not sex as in pornographic, but
Yeah.
but this one of the high school boys, he tries to date like this girl who's a couple years older than him, I think in college or something. And she just goes, you know, you don't know anything about women. And after that, they show him and he's watching like women's TV shows and stuff. And he's like really watching them and studying. And he really takes on like learning about women, and he does. He's the only one in the group who's, well, no, two of them have actually don't just want to have sex. He wants love, you know. And but it's just so funny because he's watching shows that are designed for women. And you can see him like, oh, you know, this is how women think. Or this is so kind of remind your unconscious. There's a lot of sources, YouTube, TV, and stuff. Just you know that it can learn a lot about men, and that you have the ability to get downloads. Actually, ask for a download right now from your miraculous self to learn more about men.
Yeah.
And dealing with men. And of course, there's books and videos about it. There you go. But the bigger thing is it's just this stuff, and it is connected to your father dying young, and there's some older ancestor stuff about relationships not working out, your people die, and just because that's in your past doesn't mean that needs to be in your present or future. So with your permission, let's clear out anything that says that that's kind of your fate.
That would be my utmost wish, because this dying thing that must come from the past, because it occurred a lot in my life.
Yeah.
And I do not want that anymore. I'm done with that, please.
Yeah, so just be clear, like whatever that was about. You don't have to invalidate what it was about, but just like, okay, I've done that thing. We don't need to keep doing that. There you go. And for anybody, great time to let energy come in and clear beliefs about your own or other people's death, dying. I won't go through the whole story now, though it's a good story, but until I was in my early 30s, I had a belief I would die fairly, not super young, but youngish. My father died at 45, and I thought it'd be something like that for me too. And then one day, but I was doing all this energy work and NLP and stuff, and then one day I realized, I don't believe that anymore. And what was weird is somebody was reading my palm once. One of my teachers, he talked about palm reading. I went, there isn't anything to palm reading, is there? He goes, oh, well, show me your palm. And he looks at my palm and he goes, originally you were going to die young, but you changed your mind. And I went, where is it? Where? And he showed me where it was in the lines. I'm going, lucky guess, and I'm glad I changed my mind. So all these things are changeable. So just remind yourself, like, even if that was your life path, the key thing is was. It doesn't need to be. There you go. And the other thing is, for anybody who wants a new relationship, it's good to have some concerns about relationships and getting in wrong ones or ones that have different problems. But just be really clear and talk to your miraculous self and go, I want a relationship, and I want a relationship, and give a few criteria. Don't be too restrictive, but, I want to be happy. We respect and love each other, whatever your list is, but don't overdo the list, kind of thing.
Art. I had a list,
Yeah.
and I got exactly the guy I noted down.
Well,
So this works. But the list wasn't professional. See what I mean?
Yeah. And the other thing that I learned back from one of my teachers in the 80s, the same guy who read my palm, was he goes, always add or better to whatever your intentions are. And he goes, because what you think you want, there may be something much better available to you. There used to be this American TV show, Sex in the City, and it's about 4 single women in New York, and it's mainly about all their different romances and stuff. And I would occasionally watch an episode, but when they had their final episode, I was curious how they were going to pull the whole thing together. And what was interesting about the series is the 4 women, they all had very definite men that they wanted, their list. And of them, 3 of them ended up happily married to men who weren't the men they were looking for. It didn't fit the list, but they were better, And the main character ends up with the guy she loved for the whole series, apparently. But all the rest of them ended up with men that they would have originally been totally not interested in, but they were the right men for them. So have your list, but add the or better. Thank you for the people who said you're glad you changed my mind too about dying young. Thank you. In fact, John Norman, the teacher I mentioned, he told us one time his father and his brothers and his uncles, they all died at 56. And when he was 55, his sister goes, well, I guess you're going to die next year too. And he went, wait a minute. And he realized he had that programming in it, so he cleared it. Now, he didn't live that many years longer, but he didn't die at 56. But he realized, he goes, that was programmed into him. That's when the guys die. Here we go. And the other thing, and this is hard for a lot of us, at least entertain the possibility that the whole relationship thing could be enjoyable. The meeting, the dating, the getting there. Because I think most of us think of all the negatives kind of thing. That have to kiss a lot of toads before you kiss the frog. It turns into the prince and all that. So just entertain the idea maybe the whole process could be fun and easy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I said come on, try a little harder. I'm just saying maybe. Just really let it sink in. It's amazing how couples meet. A lot of couples meet under really unlikely circumstances. My very favorite story on this is true story. There used to be, I'm blanking on his name, but in the San Francisco Chronicle, the newspaper, there was a man who had it was kind of like a gossip column, but it wasn't nasty stuff. It was just things going on in the city. And a lot of it was famous people, but just people would come to him with these great stories. And this was back before, you didn't check in for a flight on a computer or a phone. You did it at the airport. And this man and woman are in line for a flight, and they don't know each other. And when one of them gets up to the counter, and they're next to the one's behind the other, and the person behind the counter goes, the 2 of you are together, aren't you? And they looked at each other and went, yeah. And he gave them seats together. They ended up getting married. So, and there's a lot of interesting stories from people about it. I know people who've met in incredibly unlikely circumstances, Herb Cain, hey, several of you know, of course, the Northern Californians know Herb Cain, yeah. And I have to say, I actually was quoted in Hurricane once, but he didn't know who the quote came from. So that was a little, I made up a joke at a party and it ended up in his column. My boss was reading it and goes, didn't you make up this joke? It wasn't that funny, but it still made it in his column. Okay, take an easy, deep breath, and everybody just let relationship stuff get cleared out. Let it get a download on relationships. If you're in one, and enhancing the relationship you're in, if you want one, and getting in a wonderful relationship. I'm hearing from a lot of the miraculous selves going, well, we try to guide them, but they don't listen. So let's open up to letting our miraculous self do the miracles. I mean, I'm not necessarily talking about that kind of relationship, but put a yes in the chat if you have a friend or somebody that you met in unlikely ways, but well, however you met them, you both know you were supposed to meet. You really, either at the time or later, somehow you knew that. And just put a yes in the chat. In fact, the man who later became a friend of mine who introduced me to one of my first teachers, John Norman, I was like 32 or 3, and I was in one of the most popular bars in San Francisco on a Saturday night. And it wasn't a place where people came to talk about spirituality. It was a really hopping place. And it was really crowded. And this guy and I just started talking. We ended up talking for hours, and we're talking about spirituality, all this stuff. Finally goes, you need to meet my teacher. And he told me later that he'd had this premonition. He didn't know where, that he was going to meet somebody and he was supposed to help wake him up. And he realized later, like, oh, that was art, And there we go. Yeah, so lots and lots of yeses. So let's all open up to, one of the things in energetic NLP is we always set the intention to more wonderful synchronicities in our lives on all levels. Rosemary saying security guard at a grocery store, and she was a cashier. And they're twin flames. That's great. Yeah, and again, there's plenty of story. We all have whatever experiences we have a relationship, and realize that's the past. If there's patterns you don't like, and that you're free now to have a whole different relationship. In fact, a friend of mine years ago, really wonderful woman, and she didn't have trouble getting in relationships, and they were really good men, and but just not somebody to build a life around. One time, and her mother was in a nursing home. Her mother had some Alzheimer's, and she goes, my mom has a boyfriend. He's also in the home. He's a really nice guy. My mom has a boyfriend. So it's all quite possible. So how are you feeling, Sherry? Sherry.
Tanya. Tanya's in. So I'm feeling much better, because I always had the suspicion that there's something ancestral or family-wide, which I can't put aside. And I have the impression that I now have a chance to find somebody who is not bringing more of the same stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, you have the absolute possibility of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, I don't know about you, I know people that, like one of my cousins is a terrific woman. She had 2 marriages with men that were good men, but there were problems. One had developed a drinking problem and stuff. But her third three was the charm. Her third husband is this fantastic guy. They've been married many, many years now. So there's, that our past does not determine our present and our future.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough that this belief of mine is now gone, because I always believed this will happen again.
Yeah, I don't see it.
No.
Well, thank you for unmuting and talking with me. So everybody take some easy deep breaths. And so we have about 15 minutes left, but I'm going to go for another 45 minutes. Don't feel like you have to stay, any of you that want to do, but I'll go till half past the hour, wherever you are, unless you're in India, then it'll be different. But it'll be 12:30 my time, 8:30 UK. I will do another short commercial. So again, July, I should put it in here, July 16th through 18th, which is a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You can just do Saturday, Sunday. It's called Discover Your Miraculous Abilities. It's 3 days of really, if you're enjoying what we're doing here, when we do 3 days together, it's just what we can do builds and builds and builds and builds. And it's quite phenomenal what we can do in 3 days. And it always attracts a really wonderful group of people. Right now, the super early bird price is on, so it's very, very inexpensive. And that will be ending sometime this coming week. But right now, the super early bird is on. It's called Discover Your Miraculous Abilities, and tons of clearing blocks, and then a lot of connecting more with the vast being you are, bringing more of this amazing spiritual being you are into your life, and opening up your abilities to really work with earth and universal energies in a way that's safe. Because, I know people who do workshops in 3 hours and they open up your ability to work with energy, and you can do that. It's just not, in my opinion, safe or smart or anything. It was years ago, one of my early teachers, and he was a great teacher in a lot of ways. And I could do miraculous things at the end of a couple of days, but I did not know how to do it safely. And it really was messing up my life for a long time. Probably if I hadn't run into this guy in the bar who introduced me to John Norman, it would have gone on a lot longer. It was affecting me mentally, emotionally, physically. And none of that's necessary. Learning how to work with energy is incredibly fun. It empowers everything in your life. You just need to know how to do it safely. So you'll learn how to do it safely. And by the end of it, you'll be able to work with your own energy and work with other people's energy in person or at a distance. And you learn how to do it with permission, because we never force anything on anybody. But in the corporate work that I did, and I was working a lot with pharmaceutical companies, high tech, mining companies even, and financial companies. And when I would work with a group, I wouldn't talk about the energy work, but my miraculous self would be talking to their miraculous selves, and I'd find out what permission I had. And of course, it was no accident who would end up with me. And and people would say things like, "God, we thought that was going to be harder. That was really magical, and that was really fun." And occasionally I'd get busted. Somebody would get me privately and they go, "I know what you were doing." But again, I wasn't forcing anything on anybody, but I was tapping into, so even if it was a team of people that hated each other, on an inner level, even if they were really angry at one another, they would rather get along. You're stuck with these people at work, at least pre-COVID. And, there was a part of all of them that really wanted to be a good team. And I would connect with that part of them in their M, and then do conscious mind stuff too, of course, a lot of that, but I'd be doing a lot energetically. And in the being able to work with myself, being able to work with my loved ones, if I have family members or friends and having any kind of challenges, it doesn't matter where in the world they are or I am, you can work with them. And And it's not just for problems. You know, if they have a job interview or something good coming up or a hot date, you can help them with the energy. So it's 3 days, like say it's 3 days of deep personal and spiritual transformation. It's easy, it's fun. As the days go on, people get more and more into my kind of weird sense of humor, and we laugh a lot. Many years ago, I would fly to Michigan every month and teach a 3-day workshop. It was a whole series. And there was a man filming it. And one time at the end of and we would laugh a lot. We had a lot of fun. And at the end of one of the session weekends, one time he goes, very seriously goes, "I've been analyzing your humor." And I went, "Well, what have you found out?" And he goes, "Well, a lot of what you say isn't that funny, but you really enjoy it. And at a certain point, we just kind of all relax and go along with it." And I went, "Yeah, I think that's about right." You know, it's like at a certain point, it's just easier to go, "Oh, funny. Okay, I'll laugh." You know, if any of you know the old TV show Mork and Mindy about an alien, it was a comedy about an alien, Robin Williams, the comedian. And sometimes people would say things and you go, "Oh, humor." And then he'd laugh. So we get trained, we realize when it's humor and we laugh. I'll put in the link again. And all the information's there, though of course you can always email me if you want more information. Okay, so as I said, I'm gonna extend this on to 12:30 my time, 8:30 UK, and 3:30 New York, so that should give you enough reference time zones. And let me see who's next. There's so many wonderful people to call on. Okay, Lisa, you keep lighting up. Lisa Y. There you go.
Hello. Yeah, just had to find the unmute button.
Sure.
For me, I've really enjoyed this last week. It's been wonderful. I followed a few things on YouTube, and that's how I found you. I just put in something to do with energetic, and you popped up right away. So
wait a minute. You found me on YouTube. That makes me really happy. Thank you. Okay, that's good to know.
And so I've been trying to follow and get in on a few of these live sessions, and they've been absolutely fabulous for me. My thing is I have a knowing. I know I'm carrying a lot of energy that isn't mine.
Yeah.
And I keep going through things and going, okay, this isn't mine. You can take it away and dispense of it where it needs to go, if it needs to go anywhere. And I'll be okay for about 5 minutes.
Right.
So that's where I'm kind of at, is that I've got a lot of messy energy is the best way for me to put it. And I don't want this messy energy anymore. I don't want to feel, I don't know how to,
No, you're explaining it really
feel
well. I totally get what you're saying. And for everybody, one of the things we're exploring in the program this week, you're the sovereign of your energy field. If other people's energy is stuck in your energy field, it's hooking into something like hooks or Velcro. And the hooks or Velcro can be conscious beliefs, unconscious beliefs, energetic programming, all the ancestral and different kinds of programming and past life programmings. It can be hooking into karma, spiritual contracts. And when you clear your energy, like Lisa said, for 5 minutes, you feel great, or maybe 5 days, but then because you haven't cleared the hooks, either the same energies come back or similar kind of energies. So in energetic NLP, we're always trying to clear the hooks. And since the hooks are programming and beliefs that limit you, it isn't just that you clear the energy, a lot more happens. So let me, I'm sorry, sometimes when I'm doing energy work, things somehow strike me as funny. When I started looking at your energy, there was this big, "You don't have permission to clear this," and kind of that kind of voice. So in a very nice way, inform your entire energy field in your unconscious mind, and everybody else can do this too if you want. Just inform it that your miraculous self is in charge, and you'll clear anything your miraculous self wants you to clear, period. But notice my tone of voice. It's not, I'm going to clear, it's just like. And why I emphasize the tone of voice, this for everybody, is if you've ever been around somebody who is truly authentically powerful, they usually are very, direct about it. So, there's the bully types who have power in a moment, and kind of like, but the people I've met who were genuinely powerful, they might say things like, could I have that on my desk tomorrow? And it will be on their desk tomorrow. It's like when somebody's coming from authentic power, they don't have to go, that kind of thing. And I used to laugh. It's like if you picture Queen Elizabeth in Buckingham Palace, if she wants a cup of tea, she doesn't go, bring me tea. She goes like, might I have a little tea? And they scurry off and go get it. It's a command, but it's coming from that power. So just to yourself, be really clear, like, whatever this old programming is, if my miraculous self doesn't want it, we're going to start letting go of it right now. Period. That's just it. Oh, there you go. Can you feel that? That's already loosening things up. Now let me. A lot of punishment energy, which again, for everybody, it's very common. But there is a lot of ancestral punishment energy stuff. Again, both that kind of, it's our lot in life, the nature of life, but it's also making up for badness. Of course, the ironic thing is that a lot of the people in the world that we would think most deserve to be punished don't have much punishment energy in their space. I won't mention any political figures that I could, but here we go. And for everybody, at least entertain the idea. So there's different versions of karma. In one version of karma, some versions of karma are like, it's like reward and punishment. It's like an Eastern version of heaven and hell. You have bad karma, you were punished. You have good karma, you're being rewarded. In Tibetan Buddhism, that's not the way they look at it. It's a more sophisticated, no, I shouldn't say that. It's a different way of looking at it. And for them, karma is just everything you think and do, this and other lifetimes, has effects. It's just cause and effects that ripple through time. And it's not about punishment or reward. But if you think about the idea of karma, like somebody was bad in another lifetime, or their ancestors were bad, so we should be punished. So I know when I was thinking about this years ago, I went, okay, if Hitler's reincarnated as a girl right now, would I want that girl to be being punished? And be like, no. I would want that girl to bring light and love. If you want to make up for having done terrible things, bring more light and love in the world, in my opinion. That, people being punished is only adding to that punishment and fear and anger energy in the world. So if somebody was quote unquote bad, I would rather they brought a lot of joy into the world rather than punishment. That's my opinion. Okay, so I'm just making room for your miraculous self to really give your miraculous self permission to be in charge of this. Better, but really affirm it, like you're giving it 100% permission. That's it, done. That's better. And for everybody, I'm not saying we're going to get everything in this short little interaction that we're having right now, but we can get a lot of stuff. We can definitely improve things quite a bit. There's also kind of this heroic thing that I can definitely relate to when I was younger, that you take on other people's energy to heal it because you're capable of that. And again, that's a very old way to do healing. In the New Age, in for people who do come to the Discover Your Miraculous Abilities Diamond program, little plug there, people who come there are going to realize that the modern thing is the healing goes on in their space, not in your. I mean, your own healing goes on in your space. Their healing goes on in their space. And a wonderful mentor years ago named Hazel, who was this incredible woman, and she was just kind of looking at how I do healing. And this was when I was like 33, 34, and I was still pretty macho. I did not aspire to being cute. At this age, if somebody thinks I'm cute, I'm happy. Cute wasn't when I wanted to be in my 30s. And she goes, it's so cute how you do healings. So I'm like, what do you mean? And she goes, well, it's so old fashioned. So that was strike two. I did not aspire to old fashioned or cute. And I go, what do you mean? And she goes, well, you take their energy on, Art, and you bring it into your space and you heal it. She goes, that's the old way, Art. This is the new age. You use earth and universal energies, not your own, and the healing goes on in their space and your healing goes on in your space. You don't take their stuff on. And I went like, oh, okay. That's a hell of a lot better. So, just be clear to yourself, like you're not taking on other people's stuff anymore to heal it. Like, no. The healing goes on in their space and your healing goes on in your space. Wow. I don't, can you feel that? You just made a really big shift around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt that one.
Yeah, that was great. It was just like, very nice. And by the way, for everybody, when I ask if you can feel it, I don't necessarily expect that people can. I don't always feel things, but it's
well, I had a burp.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So you get these twitches or burp or cough or for me, anything to do with the throat. I always know that is you've released something.
Yeah, twitches, burps, like I say, and all that. I used to twitch a lot when I'd release energy. Here we go. And your assignment, should you choose to accept it, is to be less hard on yourself.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yes, it is. And for everybody, the way to be less hard on ourselves, this is not how to do it. Oh, I'm being hard on myself. That's being hard on ourselves. So when you start noticing being hard on yourself, go, oh yeah, I'm noticing. And then just change your thinking. And for everybody, I know you know this, but not being hard on ourselves doesn't mean we're making up excuses or not, stopping doing things if they're not appropriate or whatever it is. But it's just kind of like going, okay, I'm noticing now. Now I can take action on it. I don't need to be hard on myself. Pardon?
Don't need to change it or fix it. You just need to notice that, oh, I'm being hard on myself today, and let's keep going.
Yeah, and you can do a little redirection, kind of without fighting it, just kind of, this is a different kind of example, but I realized a few years back that if I forgot something, I would get mad at myself. Let's say I live both in Hollywood Hills and in San Francisco. And in San Francisco, my apartment's a number of floors up. So sometimes, I walk down all the floors, get in my car and realize I forgot something. And I'd go, and I'd be mad at my unconscious mind for forgetting it. And then it dawned on me one day, that's not going to encourage my unconscious mind to remember it if I'm mad at it when it does remember. So I would start when I get in the car and remember something, I'd go, thank you for reminding me. And you know, I'd prefer it if you reminded me before I walked down all those stairs, but thank you. And I would just keep redirecting it over time. And I found that I'm much less likely to do that. But when I do remember something later than I wanted to, I still always thank myself and kind of redirect it and take care of it. So that's an example of what I mean. Or if I'm being hard on myself, just going, okay, you know, noted. Now I want to encourage myself to be different. I don't have to keep being hard on myself. There we go. The other thing is start noticing when you're hard on yourself and it's completely unreasonable.
We're all pretty good at that one.
Yeah. I took an interesting program recently on flow states and peak performance. And in it, I realized that some days I'm a productivity monster. I'm incredible. And other days, you know, I feel like at the end of the day, oh God, I'm so busy and I wasted a whole day and nothing really happened. And one of the things they taught us in the course is like kind of that when you're stuck like that, it actually can, if you know how to deal with it, it can help you be more productive. You know, it's about how you, and I can't explain the whole thing right now, but it never occurred to me. I'd always just get mad at myself, like, why am I having trouble focusing and why am I not being productive? And occasionally I would do something that would help me get more focused, like maybe go take a walk or something. But often I would just stew in it for a while. And then I started realizing, oh, okay, if I actually see this as just part of the process, and then I just need to go, okay, what's the next step to help me release whatever this is and then channel it? And I was like, oh, okay, that's, you know, but all that being hard on myself just made it worse. Because not only was I not productive, but I was mad at myself for being not productive, which made me less productive. I'm sure many of you can relate. Okay, I'm going to keep, sorry, go ahead.
That vicious cycle of I'm mad at myself. I didn't do this. Okay, well, I didn't do it, but now it's late. Now I didn't do it. Now I'm mad at myself again. Blah, 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 blah. And then it doesn't get done and you're mad.
Right. Exactly.
Instead of taking a breath and just going, okay, well, I'll start it now. If I don't finish it, that's okay.
Yeah, so even just being able to go, okay, I'm a human, sometimes not performing optimally, and then just start redirecting it, you know, and yeah, so it looks like you're doing plenty of processing. So I'm gonna, if you want to say anything first, and then I'm gonna move to the next person.
Thank you very much, Art. That was fabulous. And thank you everyone for sharing all your energies with each other.
You're very welcome. Okay, everybody, I'm just going to run some whole energy for the group for a couple minutes. So just relax, really let the energy come in, and we're all getting lit up by things people are bringing up, which is what we want. So let's let the energy come in. Remember, just pretend it's coming in, let it work, dissolving blocks and limiting beliefs and programming. And affirm that your miraculous self has permission to immediately replace the limiting beliefs and blocks with wisdom, knowledge, concepts, skills, and abilities from your miraculous self. Remember, no effort. Go ahead and smile, even if you have to force it. And deep breaths and just let the magic happen. There's a lot of pain and sorrow lit up in people, and part of that's about what we've been doing. Part of it's about what's going on in the world. And just give your miraculous self permission to release pain and sorrow that doesn't belong in present time. That isn't yours. And if it is yours, if it doesn't belong in present time, we don't have to hold on to old pain and sorrow. Just let it go down into the earth. And the earth has the ability to transmute those energies, turn it into pure energies and use it. So just give it to Mother Earth, let her transmute it. and I wasn't planning on saying this, but it's what's coming in. Entertain the idea that part of the pain and suffering comes from, for a lot of us, particularly those of us that are blessed to live in more prosperous parts of the world, it's like there's just like this belief that there shouldn't be pain and suffering. Now, we don't want the belief that there should be pain and suffering, or that, you know, that we need the purification of it and all that kind of stuff. But the opposite belief is extreme too, that there shouldn't be pain and suffering. I mean, I like watching nature shows, and the thing that I used to dislike, but I kind of like it now, is it's a tough world out there in nature. Little bird singing happy, and the alligator eats it, kind of thing. And it wasn't because the bird was bad, it's not being punished. The alligator was hungry, So let's let go of a lot of this kind of, and it's infusing the whole New Age spiritual community too, that we make pain and suffering bad or wrong. It's obviously part of our reality. And again, we want to have as little of the unnatural, unnecessary pain and suffering as possible. But it's also important to be able to accept that some pain and suffering is part of life. I mean, any of you women who've had children, I don't have to tell you that, there's pain and suffering involved, and a lot of good things. It's just kind of how it is. Like when babies are teething, or, it's just part of the reality. So the point being, we don't need to be in resistance when it happens. We do want the ability to work with it, and we want the ability to not have the unnecessary pain and suffering, and a lot more joy and happiness. There we go. I know what this would make me think of. I was at a festival once, and the festival was over, and but there was a big party for the people who exhibited at the festival, and a friend of mine was exhibiting, so he invited a couple of us to go to the party. And a friend of mine who grew up in a small town in Texas, and he was older than me too, and so things like brie cheese was not something people had in small towns. They had Velveeta and these horrible kind of processed cheese when he was growing up. And he goes over to get some food, and he comes back and he's laughing, and he goes, "There's this little kid, and the little kid's all upset, and he goes, 'Mommy, they're out of brie.'" And he goes, "I didn't even know what brie was till I was 26." And it's nice to be spoiled. I like it. People talk about Bambi meets Godzilla. Yeah, it is a funny cartoon. So easy deep breaths. So again, what I'm saying is just to kind of activate you. Ask for a download from your miraculous self about your relationship to pain and suffering, your own, but other people's, in the world's, and just ask to go to whatever your next spiritual personal development steps are with that, whatever that is for you. Okay, the energy will keep going there. And let's see. Anon, you keep lighting up. Why don't you unmute? There you go.
Hi there. So a couple of things. One is I had COVID a month ago, and it was an incredible learning experience, actually, even though it was very pleasant. It lit up a lot. I think I processed most of it, but there's a little bit lingering. So that's one piece. And the second is I really feel like I'm opening up into a completely different paradigm almost, which is questioning very deep assumptions all over the place. It's exciting, but it's also a bit scary. So a bit of help with that would be good as well, please.
Oh, boy, that's a great one to bring up. So for everybody, because all of you, you wouldn't be here if you weren't opening up to new paradigms in your life. By the way, you look great, Anon. And I mean, energy too. I mean, physically and energetically. Yeah, you've already made some massive shifts, but you're only maybe 20% into it, I'd say. When it looks great, it looks great. And do remember, as your paradigms keep shifting, to enjoy it. And I mean, when a paradigm shift, it can be a little disconcerting, and it can be sometimes unpleasant, but it's also really fun and interesting. And so without suppressing the other part, just keep enjoying it. Because it looks like what you're setting up energetically is fantastic. Just work with it a bit. And you've made a big shift on your need to control this kind of thing. Do you know what I'm talking about? I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's really impressive. It's like you're riding the wave and seeing where it's taking you. And part of what's up for you, you're holding back on this part again, is being nicer to yourself and more appreciative of yourself. And and you're at a point now you can be really clear. This has nothing to do with ego, or not. It has nothing to do with egoism, or being egotistical. It's that it's better for you, better for the world to really open up to loving yourself and even more the word liking, like only just liking yourself. And for everybody, if that appeals to you, set your intention. And again, it's not going to all happen at once, but just to have some movement on just liking yourself. And for everybody, liking ourselves, again, it's not about making excuses or not changing and not being able to analyze our behaviors and stuff and change them. But when you like yourself, it's easier to do that. And it's so much nicer for other people. You know what it's like when you're around people that just, they like themselves, you know? They're not egomaniacs, but you can tell they have that solidness within them, and it's wonderful to be around. It's a gift to the world. How are you feeling?
So much, can't really track it. So just, but there's stuff happening.
By the way, for everybody, that's a great answer. You know, again, that's a perfect answer. Okay, well, the energy will keep working with you. And thanks for bringing that up. That was a great one to bring up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Deb of Work Life. I can't read the rest of it. You want to unmute?
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for calling on me. Hold on just 1 second while I get myself in place here. So, it's interesting that I thought you might call on me just at the last minute. So I'm looking to get rid of resistance that I feel is holding me back from being extremely successful in my HR world, my coaching world, and my financial world. I don't know what it is. And so I'm wondering if you could shed some light on that.
So for everybody, perfect one, resistance to moving ahead in whatever areas of your life you're wanting to. Give me a minute. An interesting energy show, so give me a moment. There's this energy. It's kind of like if you picked something like a frisbee, only if it were sort of soft, more like almost like a net, and it's just heavy, but it's heavy, and it's kind of from here down. It's just sort of weighting you down. It's like this, all this energy. So let's start clearing that. It's not your energy. And for everybody, it's not like an attack or something, but it's energy in your space. It's not helpful. It's not trying to hurt you, but it's really not helpful, put it mildly. But what's it hooking into? I don't know if you're in touch with it at all, but there's what I would describe it as like there's this deep anger in yourself at yourself. So let's start healing that.
I think that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, that whatever you're thinking of, yeah, that was lighting it up. And that's what's keeping the other energy there. I almost hesitate to say this because it sounds like such a nice new agey thing to say, but you really have been on your life path. All the Sometimes people who know me know, sometimes I talk about my friend John Friedlander, that he's an amazing guy, and we've been working with each other for years and years and years. We're kind of both, in fact, he and I'll talk later today. And back in the early 90s, I think we were talking one time, and he goes, "You don't get it, Art." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "Every stupid thing you have ever done has advanced humanity."
Yeah.
And so, except that every stupid thing you've ever done, if you could, if you were the angel's view of the earth, you'd see how it all fit in. So, of course, you want to learn from it and all of that, but ask for a download and just accepting that for whatever reasons that was part of your life path, but you're done with it. I mean, I'm getting real strong, like whatever that was, you're done with. And for everybody, the problem is that when we're done with things, it doesn't mean the energy and the programming goes, "Oh, you're done with me, bye." I used to like to say to people, the great thing about the unconscious mind is it never forgets. The terrible thing about the unconscious mind is it never forgets. It can be changed, but it never forgets. There you go. You're really letting the energy start working with that deep anger. Yeah, you haven't given yourself full permission for your life to really, for now and the rest of your life, to be way better than you think it could be. And a little bit, I was talking with a woman earlier about starting to imagine what she would look like much healthier. You start imagining what you would look like with the things that you talk about, these things working and being successful, and you're being happy at it. Always adding in the or better. There's kind of an interesting technique I learned it from a guy who, mainly I don't like his stuff, but this part I thought was brilliant. And you know how people go with affirmations? You go, "My business is really successful. I have all this money." And that can work, but often you get the cognitive dissonance part of you going, "No, you don't." And so the way he said to word it is to go, "How did my business get so successful? How did I get so abundant?" And everybody try it on. When you turn it into a question, it's a whole different deal.
Ooh.
Yeah, can you feel the difference? Like when it's like,
Yes. Yeah.
it's like I say, it's so funny because most of what this guy says, he means well, but I don't like his stuff. But this part, I went, "Now that's good."
Yeah.
It's like,
Very positive.
it's positive. It's psychologically, we're programmed to respond to questions, and when you go, "Wow, how did my business get so successful?" Your mind just starts going there, And there's none of this, "But I'm not that yet," kind of thing going on. So that's loosening up. The anger's really loosening up. That kind of floppy frisbee energy starting to loosen up. Not quite ready to leave. Got to get some karma and stuff first, but are you familiar with Winnie the Pooh?
Oh, yeah.
I've never watched the whole thing or read it, but is it Eeyore who's kind of the slightly depressed donkey?
Yes.
I mean, there's a real bubbly part of you, but there's a little Eeyore too.
Yeah.
And just kind of give the Eeyore a big hug and go, "It's okay, it's all right," and because most of that Eeyore energy, it's not even yours. A lot of it from your mom, and your mom, it's like a female thing that's ancestral.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense to me.
And just be nice to it, but also just imagine the energy of it that's not really yours is draining off, the ancestral energy.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling very tired, but also excited, and I'm smiling. So, yeah, there's a lot more I'm going to be releasing. I know
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, you're and let me say for everybody, you're all going to be processing after this, and in a couple minutes we'll set up that processing for everything. So thank you, Deb. That was really I think useful for a lot of people.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So
Really.
you're welcome. So for everybody, my apologies that I wish I could get to everybody. I can't, but the energy's been working with all of you, and we're going to do a little more as a group. It won't take too long, but it is real important. So everybody can take a couple of easy deep breaths. And just remember, when the energy is working, it doesn't necessarily have to obey linear time. So just let the energy be coming in and working with your past, your present, and your future. Because energetically, it's all accessible. Affirm that your miraculous self is in charge. You know, people all over the world talk about Mother Earth, Mother Nature energies, and whether you're out in the country or in the city, those energies are always there. Invite those Mother Earth, Mother Nature energies, or you may give a different name to it, or Gaia, whatever appeals to you. The Earth truly loves us. I remember I used to, even though I was into energy work and doing lots of weird things, when people would talk about the Earth having a consciousness, I remember back in the 80s, I thought, well, that was kind of a little silly. And then one day I was like projecting my consciousness down into the Earth. I don't know why I was doing it. And all of a sudden I went, oh my God, it's real. The Earth has a consciousness. It's like, that's what they're talking about. And that consciousness, whatever it is, truly loves us. So we are literally its children, we are made up of it. So just give permission for the Earth to just send lots of love up into you right now. Love, acknowledgement, healing. Let your miraculous self stay in charge of the energy and just use that loving energy from the Earth. Let it go into your cells and your DNA. Let it go into your organs and body systems. Let it go into your chakras, your energy channels, your energy field. Take a couple of easy, deep breaths and just let the energy be flowing through you. And there's also what's called infinite divine love. And let that come in from all directions, from spirit, again, whatever the word spirit means to you. And that infinite divine love is, oh gosh, I'm blanking on the term. What you call unconditional love. It's unconditional love. It's not loving you because of anything you've ever done or not done. It just loves you because you're you. Because you exist. So allow that incredible universal love to come into your cells, your DNA, especially into the parts of your body that maybe you don't like or aren't comfortable, but your entire body, your organs, your body systems. Let a lot of love come into your immune system. Let that love come into your chakras, your energy channels, your energy field. Easy deep breaths. From the heart of the earth, let a column of energy come up near the base of your spine. And most people teach you to ground down into the earth. Being the kind of lazy person I am, I like to do it the other way around. The earth's more powerful than I am. So let the earth send a column of energy up to you and let the earth ground you. And give the earth permission to ground only your authentic energy into your body. Give it permission to ground only your authentic energy into your body. And a fun way to picture that is imagine there's a point of light in your energy field for every cell in your body. And when the earth grounds you, every point of light pops in the cell it belongs in. Let your miraculous self use that grounding column of energy to keep gently and powerfully bringing up from the earth energies that heal you, nurture you, love you, validate you, and help you manifest. And just like a root of a plant, so the root of a tree, what nurtures the tree is coming up, what the tree is ready to release goes down. So give your miraculous self permission to release down into the earth any energies that aren't yours and aren't helpful, or old emotional energies that don't belong in present time. Easy deep breaths. Set your intention and give permission. Well, let me back up. One thing psychologists have found that one of the things we do when we sleep at night is our unconscious mind reviews the day. It's just this automatic process. And it happens when you sleep at night. Set your intention and give permission that when your unconscious mind reviews the day, it's going to work with your miraculous self. And your miraculous self will review what you did in this Coach-A-Thon, in this energetic NLP Coach-A-Thon, and it will infuse it with wisdom, knowledge, concepts, skills, and abilities from your miraculous self. It'll take what you did and make it deeper, richer, wider. It'll make it higher and more multidimensional. And while you're sleeping, it will take the benefits and automatically integrate them into your mind, into your emotions, into your body, and into your energy field. So while you sleep soundly, deeply, and wake up feeling refreshed in the morning, the benefits are automatically being integrated into your mind, into your body, into your emotions, and into your energy field. And that can happen easily, naturally, while you sleep soundly and deeply. And wake up feeling refreshed. Let's dissolve our group energy space. And it's really, really, really important that you retrieve your energy out of my space and everybody else's space. It's not good for other people, and it will leave you depleted. So set your intention and give permission right now for your miraculous self to bring back into you all of your energy out of all of our field, and we'll all take our energies back out of your field. And you always want to fill up after energy work because there's more space in your body and energy field. And what I'm about to say, consciously, you may or may not know what it means. Just let your miraculous self figure it out. Give permission for your miraculous self right now to fill you up with more of your authentic essence, with more of your authentic essence in your cells, in your DNA, in your organs, in your body systems, in your chakras, your aura, your energy channels. And it can also bring in earth and universal energies that will help you now and with your next steps in life. Now and with your next steps in life. Now we're bringing in energies to help you process and integrate what you did. Now you'll be processing this for at least days, maybe longer. And a couple of things about it. Most of the processing is enjoyable. A couple of things can happen. One is you may feel really tired, and that's because you're really processing. And so just let that be okay. Set your intention and give permission that if you're doing anything after this session that requires safety, ask your miraculous self and your unconscious mind to make sure you're grounded, safe, and alert, grounded, safe, and alert, grounded, safe, and alert. And over the next couple of days, you may start releasing emotional energy, which will be other people's emotional energy that was trapped in your energy field, or past emotional energy of your own, or even past lives or other people's. And so over the next couple of days, if emotions come up, just be mindful of them. And mindful means like, oh, I'm feeling this. Don't suppress it, don't fight it, don't feed it, and don't blame it on other people for the next couple of days. And you may not experience that at all. A lot of times when the emotional energy leaves, you don't even notice. But if you are noticing on the way out, just go, oh, good, great. You don't have to enjoy the emotional energy, but you can go, oh, good, I'm releasing old stuff. It's fine. So at least for the next couple of days, do that. And be sure to drink water. It's really good if you move and stretch at least a little bit, because your energy body and your physical body are intertwined. So when your energy field gets realigned in a better way, your body goes, oh, can I realign too? And it helps if you move. Again, you don't have to do, if you're used to doing heavy stretching or exercise, that's fine. But just even just stretching a little bit, and shoulder rolls, pelvic rolls, and warm bath or shower, a little walk, or, any of that can help. And by the way, and so just two more things before we end. Again, I'll remind you about Daima, and I'll put the link in again. Again, if you got value out of what we're doing in this short session, Daima it's always been a life changer, but the energy is really strong this year, and the whole energy field's changing. I'm at a new level in my work. It's going to be an amazing, fun, life-changing 3 days. So I hope you can join us. And I thank you so much for being part of this. And I'm just always so blessed that energetic NLP attracts just really wonderful people, and it's such an honor and a pleasure to help empower you in the world. And of course, you're helping to empower me. If you're on Facebook, I'd love it if you like the Energetic NLP Facebook page, and put little good comments in, because what happens, and YouTube too, because both of those systems, the more they see responses from people sharing and comments and likes and stuff, the more they organically show it to everybody else. And that's it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. enjoy the rest of your day or evening. And do feel free to, over the coming days, weeks, scoop me an email, let me know how you're doing with the work, and any feedback you have would be greatly appreciated. I will leave the chat open for a while if people want to chat, but I'm going to sign off. So, and you're welcome to unmute if you want to and just say bye. And
Bye.
goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
you so
Bye.
much. Beautiful session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you
Absolutely
so much.
brilliant. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
you.
Bye, Art.
Thank
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, all.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.